Hello everybody and welcome back to the snooker action. This time it's the second Home Nations tournament of the year, but this time it is the Northern Ireland Open, and what a better place to start than to have a look at Judd and hopefully he's returned back to his best up against a player that has managed to make it into the final of the British Open 3 weeks ago. On that occasion he lost out ultimately to Sean Murphy, who went on to finish off the ITV Slam there, but ultimately it is Anthony Mcgill that is one of those two players that has actually made the final earlier this season. Judd is still yet to do that after reaching the semi-final stage at the Shanghai Masters on the opening tour of the season. Has been his best result and hasn't managed to rectify it ever since there. Hello everyone, tough night for LFC. Well, I mean it is. It's a beautiful night if you're a Man United fan, which, you know, if you are, please leave. I'm only joking about it. And yeah, congratulations to them, and certainly tough night for Liverpool Football Club there. Hello, Kevin. I will be honest, I haven't seen the way Sheffield Wednesday have been doing, but hopefully they're all right in the Championship. But moving to the main stage, we've had a couple of shocks already. Well, I say a couple of shocks. It's been very sad withdrawal from Neil Robertson. I only found out today. He had to withdraw from the Northern Ireland Open and his clash with David Grace tomorrow due to very significant health concerns. He's saying he's very much on his way up there. Hopefully, we wish him the speedy recovery. Hopefully, he'll be back sooner rather than later there. Apparently, saying that he had to go through an almighty scare there, one of his biggest in his life. And yeah, hopefully, he'll be on his way back shortly. So for now, we've got Judd, the world number 1, up against the world number 45, Anthony Mcgill. Player that has been a trouble for Chomp recently. I say recently, it's been 2 years ago since those two have met, but ultimately it was Judd Chomp losing out to Anthony Mcgill in a World Championship last 32 stage. Don't ask. Yes, lovely to see Kevin and Gate Ratio in the chat already, but we're underway now. Judd Trump had an early chance to get himself into a decent position. Ultimately, Mcgill still leaves him out of red now, in towards the right corner. And still sort of reds that Trump needs to take advantage of, but not this time around. As there's going to be a chance given away there to Mcgill, because Trump will miss that red by some margin. Put the black in towards the reds there, so it wasn't on the colour anyway. With the cue ball being exactly onto the black ball cushion. So the same red that Trump has missed out is going to be available now for Mcgill in towards the left corner. Trump comes into this match as a significant favourite there with around 128 odds to his name. Anthony Mcgill is valued at 350 right now. Until this match has started, he'll be a little bit higher up for Trump, because it's an early chance now for Mcgill, especially if he gets the black now in towards the right corner. Plays cue ball through this shot there. Will get the black back on his spot there, and he's off to a nice little start to the break. Is Anthony Mcgill. Trump tonight win easy, I think. Well, I'll be honest with you. The world number 1 Trump of last season, probably yes. But I wouldn't really say that now. I would still go for a scoreline of 4-1. I was going to go for a 4-0, but, you know, the way this match has started, I think it'll be a bit foolish of me to do so. But 4-1, I think Trump will be able to sort of go through it. And as I say, I haven't seen him being knocked out in the first round matches too often there. Of course, the first one that comes to mind will be the crash out of the Saudi Arabian Masters to Oliver Lyons. But, you know, this red into the left corner for Mcgill, it looked like it was straightforward, but he's approached his shot about 6 times now, make that 7, and he's backed out every single time. So obviously trying to get with his cue towards the white there, and in the end managing to do that. So he's still on a break, so 2 more reds after this black there available to Mcgill. Will get him up to 32 points or so. Significant lead in the frame of 1. If he manages to take those 4 reds with 4 blacks there. And of course, ultimately, if you talk about the top seeded players, we're not going to see Zhao Xington for the remainder of the Northern Ireland after he has crashed out to the former Welsh Open champion, Jordan Brown, whose safety success has been 97% in that match. What a story it has been for Jordan Brown and his home event. produce a whitewash of Zhao Xingdong, who's still off, to a horrible start. If you could say that Judd has been way below average in this start of the season, but what has happened to the world champion? Being still the world number 12 there, but when was the last time he managed to get himself into the sort of quarterfinal, semi-final stage? Once again, his best result has been Shanghai Masters, but of course that was the tournament, which was showing some of the high profile frames and matches. And I think, yes, great win for Brown. Certainly is. I think he's on the lower side of the draw there, so you could avoid some of the heavy names up until, the quarterfinal stage, as he's now through to the last 32. But now this is an important shot for Anthony Mcgill, and it's a shot that he's played absolutely perfectly there as well. Remember, just for reference, he's on 4 reds, 4 blacks now, and with the way those 11 more reds have actually developed, he's literally got a practice table up ahead of him, because you've got the line of 4 reds, the line of 5 reds, and the line of 2 reds there. It's not often you see that on an actual snooker table, especially in the match play. So 32 points now for Mcgill. Of course, his eyes are going to be on trying to win the opening frame up against Judd. Where's the video feed? Depends where you want to watch it. It ain't going to be here, I'm afraid. You're not going to watch it on YouTube. But you can watch it on TNT, WSD Play, or whatever your region's sporting. So for now, all eyes on Mcgill, as once again, he gets himself on towards the black there, into the right corner. You'll have a couple of reds to choose from if he gets the black in. So you'll have one into the middle, and one into the left corner as well. So nice shot there from Mcgill. A little bit short of pace there with the cue ball, sort of landing in between the 2 shots that I mentioned. But in the end, deciding to go for a red in towards the left corner, sending the cue ball through those reds. And just about lands on the black now. And the position just keeps getting better there for Mcgill. And if he just manages to compose himself and get himself on the prime position on one of those reds or blacks, he could be in with a great shout of a sort of break that is going to win him the frame here. Because for now, he's had all the components in the world. 41 points clear, still 99 on the table. And, remember, he is on 6 reds now, 5 blacks. You'll be 6 all there if he manages to take this black in towards the right corner, but seems to be a bit hesitant there. Tried to do it with an extension there. In the end, has to go for a rest shot in towards the right corner. And just one more look to see the exact trajectory on the black there. It's not an easy shot, and him having to take the rest probably makes it even more difficult. But it certainly is manageable. But doesn't look like it's going to be this time around, because the black is going to catch the front jaw. So the chance of a frame-winning break is going to come to an end there for Anthony Mcgill, and it's going to be the golden opportunity for Judd, the player that is known for being brilliant when it comes to break building there, especially in his shot making in pot success. This time he's got around sort of 9 reds up ahead of him, all positioned very, very nicely there, especially sort of first 5 of them, with the black being over the right corner pocket. It's not going to be an issue for him either. And he's got all the components now, apart from maybe the points advantage to his name, to try and get himself off to a great start in terms of getting the first frame on the board. Of course, it's going to be a bit more difficult with him being, trailing at the moment by 40 points. As he has a look to see if any of those reds are actually going to be available there for him to try and pot those in towards the left middle. But as the answer seems to be no there, he may have to send the cue ball in towards the main bunch here of the reds, trying to accelerate those. And in the end has gone for a very, very weird shot selection, if you ask me, because he's literally sent the cue ball into the safe area while spotting the black there. So I'm not sure what his plan and approach was, but he's currently finding himself 33 points behind, and now he's got a red in towards the left corner, which has turned into a long shot now. So maybe just got the cue ball in a way that he actually couldn't get it onto the reds, but surely he could have done something better than that. May actually sort of back himself up to play a safety shot there, which would sound ridiculous if you told me that on the 2 shots ago, especially after he managed to make the raid in toward the left corner, but he has to take this one in. And he can't afford to bail out on it. Of course, can't afford to miss it either, and he is going to miss it, so the opening frame that looked like it was impossible not to win there for Anthony Mcgill, then it was impossible not to win for Judd Trump. And once again, it is Anthony Mcgill that is getting the table time now, with Judd Trump making an early mistake. Mcgill has to try and get this red into the right corner as he gets himself on the cue ball and lined up for a shot at the black in towards the left corner. So, being 34 points clear, 83 points still on the table there for Mcgill. And, you know, a little bit of a strange first frame. As I say, was at some stage it looked like it was going to be a maximum pursuit for Mcgill. In the end, he managed to run himself sort of out position there and miss a shot. Ultimately gave away a perfect chance there for Trump, you would have thought at that time, but the world number 1 only managed to produce 8 points out of it. And all of a sudden, it is Mcgill with all the momentum in the world now. Yeah, it is live on TNT Sports 2. And I think for the first time this season, we're going to see a 3-table format, because we're not going to have 4 of those. So we've got the likes of Jackson Page, Stephen Hallford featuring alongside us. I think David Gilbert and Shego Kyong are going to be playing there as well. And in the evening session, which is going to follow as soon as this match is going to finish, we're going to have Jack Lisowski and John Higgins featuring. Of course, John Higgins is going to be the second highest seed left out in the tournament. So we've had the likes of Neil Robertson, Ronnie O'Sullivan, Mark Williams all withdraw for different reasons there. Williams, of course, deciding that he deserves a week off there after a brilliant campaign at the Xi'an Grand Prix. Now Mcgill is looking to get the job done here in the first frame, getting himself 50 points clear already, 67 on the table. So he's got a nice little shot at the pink in towards there, right middle. Don't think he's got the angle to cannon the cue ball in towards the red, so he's going to just line himself up for one more shot there into the right corner and get himself into the frame ball area. The next caller is going to do it there for him, barring snookers for Judd Trump. It's going to be a horrible start there for the world number 1, especially with the 2 chances that he's had previously. Remember, he had a shot at the long red into the right corner, missed that one, gave away a chance to Mcgill. Ultimately, Anthony couldn't quite make that one stick for him. Trump came back to the table, but only scored 8 points out of the perfect chance that was presented to him. And in the end, it is going to be the frame to Anthony Mcgill, as he gets himself 64 points clear with 59 on the table. I think that number is going to reduce and become even lower as the red is going to disappear into the right corner. And it certainly is frame number 1 done and dusted. Very quick fashion there, attacking play as you would expect from the 2 players, but probably not the winner you would expect, especially in the fashion that it has been. Mcgill has managed to make breaks of 41 and 39 currently to get him onto the 80 points tally that he currently is at. So leading by 72 points, and in the end run himself out of position here. So just a safety shot, and surely it is going to be the end for the world number 1 in the opening frame. Still a couple of more chances there for him to exploit, but he has to make sure he does that quickly, because it's Anthony Mcgill off to a great start now and leading up against Judd Trump by 1 frame to 0. And with it being such a short format, you never quite know, could we see another sort of shock and upset that we've seen in the Zhao Xington and Jordan Brown match that, you know, it started similarly. Xington had a chance in the opening frame and a couple of times already didn't manage to take it. It looked like Brown was playing sort of decent stuff there in terms of his spot success, but ultimately as he managed to produce some brilliant safety shots, as I say, 97 safety shot success. I mean, it's nothing, it's a percentage that I've never seen from the likes of Mark Selby produce ever, especially up against the world number 11 and the world champion in the making. But ultimately now we've got out of the 3 Chinese players that we had in the top 12 seeds and players in the WST Tour, we're going to see none of them in the second round. Ding Junhui and Xiao Guodong have been withdrawn previously, and they're going to focus on the International Championship that are coming up in China shortly. And now we've lost out Zhao Xington as well. So, If you're a fan of the Chinese players, you'll have to wait for the likes of Li Beifan, Wu Yize, that has managed to take it in the decider against Scott Donaldson today, to perform further down there. And of course, Zhang Anda and Si Jiaowei are yet to feature up until Tuesday and Wednesday, I think, in their first round clash. And we still could see a repeat of their 2023 World Championship final with Si Jiaowei and Luca Brissell, their semi-final, I beg your pardon, if they should beat Stephen Maguire and Robbie Williams, respectively there. But ultimately, if you look at the other tables, Shego Kyon is off to a great start now, up against David Gilbert. And is currently on the break of something like 100 points now nearing. He's going to surely take the opening frame against Dave Gilbert there. Under the top seed, facing an early frame upset. And Jackson Page, the player that has managed to knock out the likes of Sean Murphy and Neil Robertson previously at the English Open, is now leading Stephen Hallford by 28 points to 1 in their opening encounter there as well. But we're going to have the second frame started very, very shortly. This time it's going to be Anthony Mcgill with a break-off shot, as he gets himself ready to go here. And lines the cue ball onto the right part of the table. And just needs to keep doing what he has been doing in the opening frame and try and develop that success. And try and push Trump into more issues and finding different routes to try and escape there from the position that Anthony Mcgill, hopefully for himself, is going to try and line up for the world number one. Ultimately, Trump is going to try and send the cue ball down the table here. In transition, the red onto the top part of the table, trying to take it on as well into the right corner. Knew that was the only red that he actually was risking to try and leave. Ultimately, ain't going to do him too much damage here at this stage, as I don't think Mcgill can see enough of that red to try and send it in towards the yellow pocket. But I think he can see just about enough of it so that he can run himself into a good safety position as he tries to push the cue ball in towards the green pocket, but not into the green spot there. So not a perfect shot there from Mcgill, potentially showing signs of that red already to Judd and ultimately leaving him the entire table to see in terms of the reds available. So now Chomp just trying to develop those nicely, make sure you don't impact the black there in a negative way. And in the end, going to catch the green even and push it even further towards the ball cushion. Decent shot there from Chomp, but ultimately I think he has shown the red onto the top part of the table there to Mcgill. And of course the odds that have been 128 there for Trump are going to turn into 161 after the opening frame loss. And Mcgill is off to a good start here as well, as he develops that red onto the lower part of the table. So this time it's Trump now that hasn't got any free reds now available to his name. Where's this getting streamed? So it depends on the region, but majority of the time, if you're watching this on Eurosport TNT 2 or just TNT Sports 2 in the UK. And for now, I think Trump is going to have a fluke here. I'm not too sure if that was a plan there, because I didn't see him trying to aim for the plan, but ultimately he's going to get himself a point. So out of a position that looked like it was going to be complicated there for Trump, he actually manages to come out on top here. And let's have a little look. I mean, as I say, there wasn't a hand of apology, but I can't really see him aiming for the shot. There was so much distance there in between to the reds. But I suppose he was playing that with some sort of intention. Ultimately going to get the cue ball in behind the yellow and try and push Mcgill into a little bit of a danger zone. So ultimately for now, Anthony just having a look to see if those reds are going to be available there to him to try and get the cue ball in towards the right part of the bunch. So I'll take all the pace out of it with using the cushion in the progress. And just has a look to see. So in terms of the colours as well, as I say, the green has gone a bit further down the ball cushion. The black is now available after the previous shot from Chomp. The pink is still a bit out of position, but this may change now if Mcgill wants to develop it. You can't do it this way though. You have to hit the red first, then it's going to be 6 points there to Judd Trump. And surely it will be attempt number 2 for Anthony Mcgill, as Trump will confirm that. And ask the referee to respot the pink, and get the cue ball back in behind the yellow here. So a little bit of a slower start to the second frame. I think that was always going to happen with Mcgill having something to try and hold on to now. And Trump realizing that he can't really take any more of those. Aggressive long shot into the right corner, although he has taken one already earlier this frame. But of course, realizing that that was the only red that he actually could give away there to Mcgill. Ultimately, didn't do that. And also getting a very successful plant into the left corner. That's given Anthony Mcgill attempt number 2 to try and deal with. And ultimately doesn't want to have too much of a touch on those reds. And I think he's got it, because I think he's going to be in trouble now. Mcgill should have judged that shot a lot better than he actually managed to. And there's one thing giving away 6 points there to Judd Trump, and another is giving away a shot in towards the left corner. So Trump can get through to this red and try and equal his best break of the match so far, with it being 8 points, as he gets himself perfectly on the black into the same pocket there. So already being 8 points clear, and he can try and get himself off to a great start. Once again, equaling his highest break of the match, with it being 8 points so far. He's the best that he managed to produce in the opening frame. But this time gets himself lined up on the red into the left corner. And the cue ball is going to make his way nicely to land on the black there as well. So in terms of the position, surely is going to be a great chance there for Trump to try and take it away there. And at least put some points of the cushion in between himself and his opponent. But trying to develop the red there and take it away from the cushion, ultimately it's cost him a bit dearly there. Up and running here, I mean, he surely is, but I still get a feeling that he is a bit rusty now going into this match, and now has got to take on a difficult red now along the cushion. It's not quite on the cushion there, so it's going to make the shot a bit more tricky there for Trump, but manages to navigate his way through it perfectly there. So 24 points is the advantage now for Trump. Trying to do a similar sort of thing that Mcgill has managed to produce in the opening frame. But this time it's going to be in his advantage if he does manage to make it work. And of course he had a shot at the reds there, with the backup being to the left side. So now we'll try and take this red out of the game. Get himself lined up on the black once again there in towards the right corner. So just trying to see if there's going to be enough reds there for him. But I mean, he's got around 11 reds still on the table, and I think 10 of them are going to be potable, as long as he sort of takes out some of the ones that are already free previously. And the more he actually manages to pot, the more are going to be available there to his name. So that's certainly not going to be an issue. And I think the main concern is going to have to be just trying to navigate his way through those reds and get himself a guaranteed position on some of those colours for good measure as well. For now, it's a red to take into the left middle, gets himself 40 points clear, and the break of 33 points. Just having a look to see if the 4 reds that are actually quite separate from each other are going to be possible, at least one of them, towards the left corner. Because if that is the case, it's going to make the path for the other reds a lot simpler there for him. So for now, try and get the cue ball, force through this black here, and use the cushion to his advantage. Get some of the distance in between the cushion and the white, and get himself lined up on the red in towards the left corner. He has a look to see if there's anything there. So I don't think it's going to be an easy shot there for Trump. And in fact, I can't really see what he was trying to go for, because if he was trying to go for the red that is actually looks to be possible from here, the cue ball had to travel a lot more than he actually did. And I think the other red that could have been possible, I don't think it actually goes through there into the gap into the left corner pocket. So Trump has got probably a safety now to try and play. I mean, he'll try and find his way into the attacking shot desperately, but at the end of the day, you just have to do it, and you have to take the red out of the cushion there. So Trump has to play a safety shot. Ultimately, the 40 points of a break is the best that he managed to produce. So responding to the break of 41 points previously made by Anthony Mcgill. So we've had 41 points of a break, 40 points of a break, and 39 points of a break. So it's all looking to be a bit scrappy there for Trump. You know, as I say, had two brilliant positions in front of him in the opening and the second frame. And the best that he managed to produce out of two of those were the breaks of 40 and 8 points previously. And for now, Mcgill have initiative to his name, as the safety shot from Chomp wasn't good enough. The safety from Mcgill certainly is going to be. And he's now Chomp that he's going to find himself under a little bit of pressure. Getting the cue ball in towards the reds there on the lower part of the table. Can only see the edge of those. But ultimately the good news is there's not going to be any of those available there for Mcgill to try and exploit. As he gets the cue ball nicely on towards the ball cushion. Not a good sign for Chomp fans. Nah, but I think it's always going to happen there when you've got the top seeded players coming through the early stage. By the way, shout out to Mark Selby. Managed to produce a good performance against Ian Burns. And, you know, he's still the top 10 player, Mark Selby. And, I mean, there's only a handful of those left. You've got Mark Cullen, you've got Mark Selby, you've got Sean Murphy, and you've got Judd Chomp there. Is about as much as he gets there, but Mcgill had an advantage of an early safety play. This time he's not going to have that advantage to himself because he's just played a bad safety this time. And Chomp has got a selection of reds available there to him. I think he has to sacrifice the red into the right corner and go for the one into the left. And by sacrificing, I mean not being sure on which colour to try and land. And that's exactly what happened. But ultimately, I think he'll take the shot of the pink into the left middle. Higgins playing, yes. I should have mentioned Higgins. I don't think I did. So good shout there. So Allen, Higgins, Trump, and Selby and Murphy there. So, and Wilson, by the way. Karen Wilson, of course, as well. Being back, hopefully, to his best. Up against Oliver Lyons tomorrow. In the first round clash here of the main draw. So still some of the best players on the tour available. And, you know, they'll be looking to try and make their way into the later stages of the tournament. But ultimately, I think this is a great chance now for Judd Chomp and Karen Wilson to get themselves really high up there. And especially if they manage to go through those sort of early rounds. Williams, now he's not playing because he has withdrawn from the tournament after his Xi'an Grand Prix win. Funny story about that. The player that he was actually going to play, Long Zheng there, has received a walkover for the second year in a row because last year he was supposed to face Ronnie O'Sullivan, but obviously Rocket has withdrawn from the tournament last year. So a lot has managed to produce and make himself in the last 32, and he's done exactly the same thing this time up against Mark Williams. So a bit of a funny story for him. But, you know, we've had a couple of withdrawals from the tournament. I think we've had Marco Fu withdrawn as well from the tournament. Trying to think if there's been someone else there. I think there's been a less of a significant name, so if it comes to me, I'll let you know. But coming back to the table, we've got Judd Chomp trying to finally make this break that actually counts there for him, being 66 points ahead. So the red will put him 67 points clear with 67 on the table. So any colour will make sure that Anthony Mcgill is actually going to need snookers. And I think this is a very important frame for Chomp, because something that he has managed to do previously is to give away leads like 2 frames to nil there to his opponents, and especially in such a short format, it is probably something that you can't afford to do, even if you are the world number 1. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case, because Judd Chomp is now 72 points clear with 67 on the table, and still not necessarily running himself out of position. So trying to replicate and maybe improve on the previous break of 40 points. Gets the black in towards the right corner once again there. And gets himself lined up on the red. So the red and the black will make sure that it's going to be his highest break of the match. And joint highest of the 2 players there. Replicating the break of 41 points previously from Anthony Mcgill. Don't think there's going to be enough points there for a century break though. Because there's only 51 points on the table there for Chomp. But he can certainly make it the first 50 plus break. And make it the highest break by some margin, as it does seem to be in a great pace in terms of taking very little time in between those shots. And the referee pretty much has to be racing towards the colours there, trying to get them out of the corner pockets. Once again, there 49 points on the break for Chomp, so the black will make it. 56 points there for him. And the first 50 plus break of his campaign at the Northern Ireland. Of course, this is a brilliant chance for Chomp and Wilson's point of view. You know, Wilson a little bit less so because he has managed to win Shanghai Masters and had a brilliant campaign there, but has been a bit quieter ever since. I hope to re-establish his form and be back to his best. And I think this is a great invitation for Judd Trump if he needs any of those, because I think his toughest challenge is going to be to try and get his way through those lower ranking seeded players, the likes of Anthony Mcgill, of course, that, you know, have been at the great stage of the tournaments previously. Was only a single frame away there of making the famous final clash with Ronnie O'Sullivan, but ultimately under the most bizarre circumstances that I still remember watching to this day, has lost out to Karen Wilson and ultimately couldn't make it into the final of the World Championship, but it still could be something yet to come there potentially in his career. Has been on a little bit on the down there ever since, especially since the last in this season. But, you know, controversially, and not controversially, but surprisingly to everyone, he managed to make it into the final there of the British Open, defeating the likes of Stan Moody and John Higgins in the making there, but ultimately lost out to Sean Murphy on the previous occasion. And right now it is going to be Judd Trump 1, Anthony Mcgill 1, so all square going into frame number 3. And the prediction of 4 frames to 1 there still being on the cards, but I think this is going to be more of a challenge there for Mcgill, because I think it was going to be very important there for Trump just to get that one frame on the board and hopefully get some traction to his name. Try and use that to his advantage as we have a look at how the other tables are doing. Still, Trump is currently dominating the poll there by 85 to 15%. No surprise there with the world number 1. Lost out around 100,000 of ranking points in comparison to the last season, but ultimately still a comfortable world number 1 as it stands. Jackson Page managed to get himself 1 frame ahead there of Stephen Halford, and of course Jackson Page up against Judd Trump is something that we could see in the making in the last 32 stage. You know, it could be a very exciting match, especially with Page's experience of knocking out the likes of Murphy and Robertson at the English Open. Could he try and do it to the world number 1, especially with the format being the same? But I'm pretty sure that Stephen Halford have something to say about it. David Gilbert is still finding himself on the receiving end of things, and Jérôme Kion is finding himself at the table and on the break of 14 points and counting after claiming the opening frame up against the world number 22. Gilbert, that someone that used to be in the top 16 comfortably, has dropped out of it now and is currently being very close to the world number 22-24 there. Depends on if you look at the WST race there or the WST rankings, with those being different by some margin, but ultimately it is going to be the frame number 3 to get started off there by Judd Trump. He gets himself frame on the board. And now Anthony Mcgill is going to be searching for those answers in frame number 3, because something that he can't afford to do is let Judd Trump try and run away with it. It's a brilliant shot there by Trump on the break-off shot. And yes, Gilbert been struggling a while. Yes, I think he's been struggling for consistency. And it's something that, you know, you can't really buy in snooker, and it's one of the most important aspects of the game. And the one thing about David Gilbert I think we can all agree on is he has been consistently inconsistent there, unfortunately for his career. But still looking to try and rediscover his form. And as we've seen with Mcgill previously, it all come from a couple of really comfortable performances there, and all of a sudden you can try and have that belief that you can still do it and mix it up with the world's best players. For now, it is a safety exchange in between Mcgill and Trump, and it's the one that we currently can't see the winner of, because the Reds are actually positioned themselves as they would have been until the break-off shot, very close and bunched up together, and Trump will have something to say about it. This time surely would have been a fluke had he fluked that red. In the end, He's going to get the cue ball in towards the safe area. And it's a nice shot there from Judd Trump. Because ultimately, he ain't going to give away any of the reds there to Mcgill. And, you know, he has to force him to try and develop the bunch even more now. Ultimately, Mcgill is going to struggle with trying to make sure that he's not going to leave any reds for Trump there in the making. So has to take a very careful approach. I don't think he'll be ruling out the shot of using the left-hand side of the cushion of the table first and trying to get the cue ball onto the lower part of the table. But ultimately, I think he's going to try and catch that red very thin on the edge there, but has to be careful that he doesn't push some of those reds in towards the pocket, which is exactly what he's done. So, yeah, I think he could have played that shot better, but I think the previous shot from Trump was actually really, really good there. Chris Wakelin won easy today. Well, you say that. I mean, I've watched him. I wouldn't say he won easy. I would say he's been really struggling. I think he's managed to lose out on the China International qualifiers. It might have been China Grand Prix, to be fair. I think he lost to Xiao Zheng there, but he has won by scoreline of 4 frames to 1 there, but he could have lost out on every single one of those frames. You know, Lan Yuhao could have played a lot better. Ultimately, Wakelin was struggling to sort of make any significant breaks there in the making. But, of course, in the early stages of the tournament, it's all about winning, and you could always say, and you can always go back to the statement of Mark Williams, you know, if I win and I play badly, I'll take that every single day over playing well and still losing to my opponents. So still massive credit there to Chris Wakelin, because something like that was the game that Xiao couldn't produce today up against Jordan Brown. And ultimately it is Chris Wakelin that is going to be in the second round, and Xiao isn't going to be there. Once again there, after a couple of chances given away there by Trump, to Trump, he refused the previous one into the left corner, but this one, he ain't going to be refusing this into the right corner, and it's a lovely shot there from Trump. And if the cue ball just going to get past the blue and get himself up for the ball colours. Lovely little shot there from the world number 1. Brilliant cueing as well, getting that red into the heart of the pocket. And just having a look to see if he's going to have anything available there to him now. So, just looking for potentially the way down for the cue ball. I think he's not going to be worried about the pot here, because he can try and take the brown into the yellow pocket, or he can try and take the yellow itself. And I think he's just trying to make sure he's got the perfect angle on the cue ball, and he knows where to try and put it. He's going to power the yellow in, and 2 cushion escape there to try and get himself up for one of the lower reds. Needs the cue ball to run though, and he's going to run perfectly there for him. Chum not won for a tournament for a while. I mean, yeah, it's going to be more than half a year, isn't it? Because he hasn't won one this season. He obviously hasn't won a World Championship. And don't think he's won a Tour Championship. I think that was John Higgins. Yeah, I think Neil Robertson and John Higgins were trailing tournaments by the World Championship. So it's actually a good question. Which tournament was the last one that he actually managed to win? He had a really good start to the campaign last season, but not so much in the second part of it. Obviously didn't win the Masters. I think he was the winner of the UK Championship though. Unless that was Karen as well. So you've had Xiao Sean Murphy and Judd Trump, the winners of the Triple Crown events last year. But ultimately, you just have to admire the start to the season that he's had last year, because it still has him a comfortable world number 1 with pretty much half a million of ranking points of advantage over Karen Wilson. As yeah, he has to go for the cheap colours now, getting the cue ball down the table once again here, getting himself lined up for a red into the right corner. So this is going to be a chance now for Trump. Try and get the cue ball onto the black here, but it's a chance that he seems to refuse and take a more difficult shot on with the red into the green pocket. So pretty much the entire length of the table has to be covered, and it's going to be missed there by Trump. So where's this red going to finish? He's going to finish on the lower part of the table, and ultimately he's going to block all the ways that are possible for Mcgill. And the situation that didn't look like it was going to be positive for Mcgill anyway, probably gone a bit worse. but he's still got a free safety shot to his name. And a bit of a slower start to the third frame once again. And Mcgill will just get off the right-hand side of those reds and get the cue ball up the table yet again here. So try and develop any more of those and put as much distance there in between the cue ball and the reds. And I mean, when I say as much distance, play this shot absolutely perfect there, Mcgill. Because as close as you can actually get there to the yellow pocket without dropping the cue ball in. He's going to force Judd into some sort of magic. And what a sort of magic this is. I mean, I was talking about a safety shot, but he clearly planned to try and get this red into the left corner. What a shot that is by the world number one. Brilliant there. And very much deserved shot now to try and snooker Mcgill in behind the brown. Brilliant shot there by Chomp. Only going to get him 1 point for now. But ultimately it is going to get him a chance of another positional sense should Mcgill run himself into trouble. And once again, as we have a look at the replay of this brilliant shot from Chomp. So what can Mcgill actually do here? He's got the cluster of 4 reds very close to the left corner pocket. Ultimately, he ain't going to leave any of those away if he tries to get the cue ball in below the red. And it's probably the only chance realistically he's got of not leaving a red there for Trump. Because if you talk about the reds that are going to be underneath the pink, well, there's going to be gaps there for Trump to try and exploit into the middle or the corner pocket there. So Mcgill doesn't seem to have an idea on his face just yet. Have a look to see maybe he can try and go underneath the bunch. But even then he has to play this shot absolutely perfectly. Try and push the red that he's actually, I think he's going to be aiming towards. In towards the right hand cushion there of the table. Ultimately he's trying to go pretty much straight in the face there. Don't really like the idea. And yeah, he's going to leave a red now for Chomp into the left middle. So it's all about if actually Chomp decides to take this red into the left middle or not. I think Mcgill was just going to settle for the lesser of the evils. And let's see what the outcome is going to be now. Chomp just having a look to see how the black is looking to him. Obviously trying to get the cue ball on towards the black cushion isn't going to be the case now with him having to bridge over a couple of reds. And yeah, I think it was just a bit too awkward there for Chomp to have a shot. Not guarantee of the colour either. And he just decided against that shot into the left middle. And Mcgill has got a chance once again to try and re-establish the balance in the safety play. Only 8 points scored in frame number 3. As it's off to a bit of a slow start here. With both players clearly realising that they're going to be up against a worthy opponent. Trump realised that in the opening frame and of course managed to respond in frame number 2. David Gilbert, though, managed to level things out there against Showdown. So it's now 1 frame each. Stephen Hawkwood's trying to do a similar sort of thing there against Jackson Page. And Mcgill has gone for a really aggressive shot there. Something that they didn't actually think was possible into the right corner. He managed to pull one of those reds out, but ultimately missed out by a very slim margin. Still, it's a really nice shot there played by Mcgill because the cue ball is going to be way beyond the D and actually is closer to the bulk cushion there than it is to the bulk line. And Chomp has to try and exploit the left hand side of the table, which is tricky for you to try and play a safety shot from. Ultimately just going to try and roll the cue ball in towards the red there. I think he's going to run out of pace there. So Mcgill will probably ask Chomp to try and repeat the same shot. And that is going to be the case. The referee will just try and re-establish the position of the cue ball. And try and get it in behind the yellow once again here. I think this is going to be probably the last warm-up for Judd Trump in terms of the tournaments. Because we're going to get to some of the giants there of the first part of the season. And second attempt is a lot better there from Trump. And he's going to nail it this time around. This time it's Mcgill's shot to try and send the cue ball up the table once again. But yeah, the reason I say that is going to be because if you have Judd trying to win a tournament of some sort of significance, I mean, it being the ranking title would help at this stage, but you're going to have the likes of Champion of Champions coming up shortly. You're going to have International Championship. You're going to have the Riyadh season, which has been announced recently by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And of course, you're going to come up to the UK Championship in late November. The Triple Crown title there. I'm pretty sure Trump will be very keen on trying to defend. This time, it has a free shot there of trying to get the cue ball onto the top part of the table. And it is going to be a touch and ball after a safety from Mcgill. And Trump managed to exploit that one really nicely, getting the cue ball just as far up the table as it was possible. Ultimately, Mcgill just having a look to see if he's got any of the reds available into the left corner. And don't think that's going to be the case, because the black is going to be in the way of that. And also the way you're going to try and develop those reds, probably going to bring at least one of them into the left corner pocket, and possible there for Trump. So Mcgill obviously realising that and trying to exploit the option that he's got to himself. I think the vision and the sort of limited vision there to Mcgill is going to be an issue as well, because the red into the right corner is not going to be visible there for him because of the blue. Scrappy frame, it is a bit, but you know, on the other hand, it's just probably a safe manner of a frame. I don't think we've seen too many of mistakes from either one of the players, and it should have just been a bit uncertain. The position ain't going to help it too much either. And them realising, obviously, the quality of each other seen in the previous two frames. This is going to be a one-frame chance now. And Mcgill has gone for the very aggressive approach. And, well, you talk about scrappy frame. It could be frame over from here, because Mcgill has gone for the shot that I said was going to be very risky, because he was trying to develop those reds into the left corner pocket. Obviously, couldn't see anything better, but he's left out a red on a plate there to Judd Trump, and especially if Trump manages to get the cue ball for a perfect shot at the black, he's going to be working with the reds in and around the black spot, something that you should never leave as a free chance to Judd Trump. So for now, it was all about trying to get the cue ball onto the top part of the table, obviously not being able to pot the black at that time of asking. He's going to try and re-establish the blue back on his spot here, and try and apply some power on the cue ball. That was a risky shot there for him to take on, especially with that sort of power, but he managed to make it in, and he's now 14 points on his score sheet right now to 4 from Mcgill. I think this is a perfect chance now to get the cue ball down the table, get himself lined up for the black, in towards the left corner. Doesn't want to be straight on it though, because there's going to be a red there waiting for him into the left corner, but anything but straight. Hopefully sending the cue ball bit into the top part of the table will do him nicely, and it's exactly the angle that he's got ahead of himself. Takes the black in, wasn't easy, but he manages to take this one in, and he's now 18 points clear of Anthony Mcgill, and getting himself hopefully there for the world number 1. Away with his frame. Still has at least 2 reds there available in towards the left corner, and ultimately that's going to bring out some more of those into play. Is this tournament draw done or ever round draw again? What do you mean? Oh yeah. So you know everyone who's going to face everyone, and I'll be honest with you, I absolutely hated the British Open draw. I know someone like Murphy has said it's a brilliant thing because you never know what you're going to get there, but I just don't understand it. What is the point of it? I mean, like, I get anyone can beat anyone, sorry, but I mean, if you're gonna do a draw like that, I mean, just tell us at the beginning so we know what to expect from the pairings. But I suppose it's down to WST to try and establish that. But it's not gonna be in the Home Nation Series, at least not this time around, as the qualifying for the Northern Ireland Open has been played around 2 months ago. And we're not going to have the repeat of English Open, where it started from the last 256 players. with the top 32 coming onto the round 3. This time he's going to start from the last 64 there. And we are already with some of the players into the last 32. So Chomp just trying to make his way through those reds as quickly as he can. And certainly trying to get rid of the easy ones first. He's got 3 more that are sort of surrounding the pink onto the middle part of the table. And he's also got a black to try and take into the left corner right now after this red. And 3 more reds, well, pretty much blocking the left-hand side cushion. As Chomp once again there, a bit slow in between the shots this time around though, as tries to fix that by taking the red into the left corner. So very close, by the way, to actually making this the frame there for his score sheet. With him being 56 points clear, 67 on the table. And not quite GG's there, but I think 2 more shots. And that is going to be the case. So just navigate the red in towards the left corner and get himself lined up for the black as well. And surely it will be a good game there for Anthony Mcgill. And something that you couldn't afford there if you are Mcgill is to give 2 frames in a row there to Judd, because you feel like this is going to turn into 3 and potentially 4 in a row for the world number 1. We're not going to have an intermission break of any sort, with it being a best of 7 match here. First to 4, of course, up until we get to the quarterfinal stage, when that's going to be first to 9, first to 5, I should say. That will be quite the change if it was first to 9, best of 9, I should say. And the quarterfinals should see us best of 11 there, as Chomp gets another black into the left corner. Going to run himself out of position on the red, so he's going to try and take the double. And we'll miss this one though. So the break of 68 points, once again, the highest that Chomp has managed to produce. Big crowds in Ireland, always, absolutely. And some of the support, by the way, some of the support that I've heard for Jordan Brown in the first round as well, up against Zhao Xingtong, was absolutely brilliant to watch and see. The crowd certainly were up for it, and yeah, if you have a look right now with the WST showing the big screen on all 3 tables, as I say, 3 tables this time around, not 4 of them, and the crowd in Northern Ireland and in Belfast is absolutely huge at these moments. And it's only the first round. You can only imagine what it's going to be like when we get to a single table format, when you're going to turn this stand into sort of, you're going to have 1 to the left, 1 to the right there, and the main one is going to remain pretty much the same little thing. So a lovely little thing from that point of view, if you are talking about the way this tournament has been organised and dealt with. Snooker Loft Theatre, yeah, absolutely. I just think that, you know, Home Nation series are absolutely great for you to watch for this specific reason, because you're always going to have people chewing up for them, but obviously it's going to depend on which region of the world and which players are playing there. But I think certainly some of them have had the all-day admission, so they would have seen the home crowd favourite, Jordan Brown, beat the world champion. They would have seen Mark Selby up against Ian Burns. And they would see the clash of Judd Chomp and Anthony Mcgill. And of course, yet to come there, Jack Lisowski up against Harris De Heer there. And also John Higgins up against Louis Heathcote, the player that has managed to make it into the quarterfinals of this British Open as well there. Jackson Page is off to a great start there in the second frame as well. Gets himself a 2-0 cushion of Stephen Hallford. And David Gilbert and Jago Kyon are still battling for that third frame. Nothing to separate the 2 of them as it stands right now. So out of the 3 tables that are currently in action, we are the only one that has managed to get past the 3 frames margin. So just having a look to see when I think it's Mcgill that has to return. Chomp has remained in his chair there. So very, very shortly we'll be up and running there for the 4th frame. The frame that Anthony Mcgill very much has to win there if he is to remain in the contention. Because if you have Judd Chomp winning 3 frames on the bounce, the last thing I can see is Mcgill responding with himself winning 3 frames on the bounce, which is going to be the task there for him. He's going to go into frame number 5, trailing by 3 frames to 1 there. As once again, we just wait for Mcgill to return, and when we do have Anthony back at the table, we're going to be back in action. And I think from Trump's point of view, you're not really going to try and grade and try and think about the way you've played too much there at the first round. And the thing you have to do, probably until you get to the last 8 realistically, maybe last 16 to an extent, it just depends on the opposition. I know Jackson Page is going to be a struggle there for him, especially in such a short format. It's one of those matches, Trump against Page, which you could actually see Jackson Page is trying to sort of do a similar thing there that he's actually done to Neil Robertson, and trying to sort of replicate his own style, trying to take the game to Trump and for it to be played in his own fashion there. Ultimately, it is now still a challenge of Anthony Mcgill to try and overcome for the world number 1. As it is now going to be Mcgill to break off in frame number 4. Once again from the right hand side of the table to get us underway. Gets the cue ball onto the top part of the table this time around. So the cue ball is going to end just in behind the yellow here. So nice shot there from Mcgill. But ultimately there's still some distance in between the cue ball and the cheapest of the colours. And Trump pretty much straight away there, lining a shot into the right corner, you would think, but ultimately refusing the shot. Something that I actually didn't expect him to try and do. You know, the black was available for him to try and get around and have the cue ball lined up on. But probably is a nice thing to see there from Trump, because he obviously is taking this tournament seriously. Hasn't had too many wins here previously. And ultimately it is Karen Wilson has won the Northern Ireland here last year after a brilliant performance of his own. And Mcgill just having a look to see if that red once again there onto the top part of the table is available. So very much a similar start to the second frame. But of course that time around it was a red push there for the reason of Trump missing a red into the right corner. But this time it is turn for Mcgill to try and make all sorts of errors. And I think he's going to be really lucky if Trump can't see that red into the right middle. It's basically the slightest of touches and he's going to drop there for Trump. But the question is, I mean, if he has to hit the cushion first, the task is going to be a lot more complicated there for Trump. And the way he's having a look to see if maybe he's going to take a cushion first shot, but no, it's going to be visible. So he's obviously just having a look to see if the black is going to be possible. So another invitation there and another chance now for Judd Trump to try and get himself ahead in the fourth frame this time around. So not going for the black yet, trying to get himself onto the top part of the blue and using the black bow cushion very, very nicely there to his name. Gets himself with a perfect angle on this blue into the left middle. And he's certainly up and running in frame number 4. And, well, he's off to a perfect start here already. The position doesn't look too perfect there, though, for him. But it's something that you'll try and work on as he makes his way through those reds. And now at least one more red there for him to try and take into the left corner. And the angle on the cue ball that Trump has actually left himself with. He's going to get the white in towards the black there. I think he's just going to be all right there. In terms of this, as I say, I was thinking about Trump going for the black into the right corner. But unless sort of he has enough margin, you can try and go for sort of sending the cue ball around the black. And getting himself lined up in for the left corner. But instead, he's gone for the similar approach of a shot, but applied a lot more power on it. And ultimately, as he has left himself with a right angle last time around on the blue, he's not going to have this angle this time, though. So very, very straight on this blue. And let's see if he's going to find some sort of angle to get himself down for the table. Still doesn't have to go into the bunch just yet. He's got a couple of more reds there, just above the black spot, that are still available for him to try and pot. And I think this is what he's looking at. The red into the left corner, so he's just looking to see which one is going to be easier for him to take. Maybe just freeing up the black there even more, and giving it more space for the cue ball to try and run into. In the end, has to hesitate and try and get the cue ball down for the black there, and this is surely something that he was afraid of, not having enough black to actually see for the shot, and he still will take the black on, but this is risky. Just about managed to squeeze the black into the left corner. So he's now having 20 points of an advantage there to his name. Still one more red just above the black spot, and the cue ball has got a nice little angle to get itself onto the blue and lined up for the shot at the middle, and just wants to pass the blue though, and catches it a bit full in the face there, but it's just going to be alright there, I think, to get the cue ball into the bulk cushion area and back down the table. So 2 cushion escape there from the cue ball. Tries to catch some of those reds, but doesn't look like he's going to have anything to play after this apart from a safety shot. So, you know, he was a bit of a problematic position to start there for Chom, but the fact that he's managed to get 26 points out of it is probably going to be more advantage there to his name than a waste of a chance. And just getting the cue ball in behind the yellow would have been the target. Don't think he's going to reach that stage though. So Mcgill will have a little bit of an invitation to try and take the red into the right corner himself, as he just has a look to see if the angle is going to be there for him. And I don't think the answer is going to be yes there, so just develop more reds and free up a couple out of the pack. Maybe get the pink in available play as well. Not this time though for Mcgill, as he goes for the safety first there for himself. Gets the cue ball into a really nice area there, and probably leaves the Trump with a cross double to try and play. Send the red into the main mix of reds and get the cue ball lined up for the top part of the table once again. So Trump just having a look to see if that cross double is actually going to be worth it. Or is he going to go for a plan B option, which is going to be trying to catch the red quite thin on the edge there and set it towards the right corner pocket. Nice shot there from Chomp. And getting majority of those reds safe there. And the ones are not safe at this stage. It's not going to be possible there for Mcgill. And 100% safety success so far for Judd Chomp. And, well, I can't really think of any moments for me to actually disagree with this stat, but it probably just puts that incredible, as I was calling it, percentage by Jordan Brown of 97% previously, but, you know, sort of loses value there to an extent. But, of course, that was at the end of 4 frames, and it was a whitewash there from Jordan Brown. And he would have been coming into that match as a huge underdog up against Zhao Zicton, and let's see if the underdog of Anthony Mcgill to try and produce something here, and he probably is going to try and go for the red in towards the right corner, and ultimately he has done so, and unless he managed to get away with it, which would be an absolute miracle there for him, I can only see 2 shots there for Chomp to try and make. The one into the right corner, which I don't think he can actually see enough of the red, and there's your confirmation, he can't. And the shot into the right middle is far from easy as well there for him. I think Hawkins is not playing. I think he is. I thought I've seen the name. Whilst there's a little bit of a delay in the play. Let me have a look there. And just to say that, the delay is going to be over. And Chom looks to be taking on the shot into the right corner. And he is going to try and do it. But ultimately, decelerate the cue ball way too much there, obviously. Something to do with applying the spin, and it's not going to be on any colour at all. In fact, he can try and take the pink into the left middle, but surely he's not going to try and risk the positional play of running himself, well, into spot of bother there. So Barry Hawkins is going to be playing in the Northern Ireland. He's going to be up against Zach Doherty It's going to be tomorrow in the morning there. So Barry Hawkins is very much in the action. As I say, thought I've seen the name involved. Up alongside the likes of Wu Yize, Xijia Wei, Li Peifan, Luca Brissell, all being part of the action. Thank you, no worries at all. Once again there, Trump just having a look to see if it's worth taking that pink on, but obviously the answer is going to be no to that question. And the only thing that Trump had to be careful is, remember the red that I mentioned could have been possible into the right middle. Of course, with it being onto the top part of the table, and Trump trying to send the cue ball into a similar sort of area there, he had to make sure that he doesn't leave the perfect angle there for Mcgill to try and exploit that red to his advantage. Ultimately, that ain't going to be the case. And Mcgill probably has to find another safety shot there of getting the cue ball up the table from one of those thin cuts on the reds underneath the main bunch. I think he could try and go for it into the left corner there for himself. That's going to be an invitation there worth taking on. Salam Balaj, hello, my friend. Nice to see you in the chat there as well. And, I mean, Mcgill does seem to be taking a long time on those shots. I've noticed that previously as well, but I just don't know how he's going to get him anywhere further than he's actually managed to get so far in the session. Thank you, mate. How are you? Yes, very nice, very nice. Looking forward to seeing the action. As I was saying, the main part of the weekend has been all about sort of Formula 1 and football. And as we get ourselves into a week of Northern Ireland, going to get some cracking stuff of snooker with the International Championship coming up very shortly. You're going to have Champion of Champions. You're going to have the Riyadh season. You're going to have the UK Championship coming up shortly as well. So it's all going to start happening now in the first part of the season. And it looks like it's all going to start happening now for Anthony Mcgill, because there's no way he's going to get himself into a straightforward shot after all the time he's taken on the shot. And in the end, it's going to turn into a little bit of a calamity there for Mcgill. Wonderful. Thank you, never better. Lovely to see that, Kevin. And what a lovely feeling this is when you've never been feeling better. And yeah, Mcgill obviously realizing that, you know, he should have never had the double kiss on that red. And leaving away one more chance there to Trump. And he feel like, just like he was in frame number 2, this is all that Trump is going to need there to himself. As he gets the pink into the left corner. Had to be careful. The jaws were very narrow there for the pocket. And 6 more points. I'm going to weigh the count of Trump's points tally. 34 points of advantage. Still 99 on the table. And I think that amount is going to reduce drastically with at least 6 of those reds being available. You know, 2 eliminated already by Trump. But, you know, if you take 4 out that I've mentioned that, you know, I would consider in the open play, some more of them will be actually freed up there into the left corner or the right middle. So for now, once again, with the black being out of position, Trump has to navigate his way through the pink here. Just having a look to see if he can get through that red and send it into the right corner pocket. And I think the answer is going to be yes from what I can see here. Because Trump will have a better angle to see for himself. And he says no at that time. So obviously his computer says no. And getting the red out of the left corner pocket eliminated there from the rest shot. Gets himself lined up for the pink. Into the right middle as well. So the pink will put him 48 points clear with 83 on the table. So 2 more reds with 2 more high value colours. I think is going to be all that Trump is going to need. Maybe 3 reds there, as he's 48 points clear now. And you have more than those 3 reds that are available to his name. But of course, we'll have to take those with the pink. And I think at this stage, it's going to be more of an advantage there to Trump. Simply for the fact of his opponent not being and not having access to the black, especially at this stage. If he is going to try and pull off a comeback of some sort. It's been very, very quiet in terms of the playing time and the table time there for Anthony Mcgill ever since the first frame in the points tally. I mean, may be wrong there, but I don't think he scored too many points in any one of the frames that Trumpman managed to win. So after getting the breaks of 41 and 39 earlier in the frame number 1 there, I think it's all been a bit quiet there for Mcgill, and certainly has been very, very noisy there from Judd Trump's perspective, as he gets himself a break of 35 points, 62 points clear. So the red for the frame now to have Anthony Mcgill needing 2 snookers if he wants to win this one in open play. And it is going to be the case there. So 3 frames on the bounce there for Judd Trump, and all seems to be going into the place there for the world number 1. GG's for the match. Not quite yet, but as I say, I think the first frame was important for Mcgill, but the second one was even more important. You could still see Judd Trump struggling there. As I see me and Kevin were saying, this is a bit of a worrying sign there for Trump fans. But ultimately, he's managed to overcome that so far. And he's only 1 frame away of making it into the second round clash, potentially with Jackson Page. I'll have a look on if that is still the case. And maybe Page has managed to get himself a 3-0 lead against Stephen Hall. He certainly has. And right now, he's on the break as well. So the matches could finish pretty much simultaneously there, as we could have a lineup for the second round clash there. It's Trump once again there, being very, very rapid on those shots. So 55 points of a break, another 50 plus there for him. And eliminates the red into the left corner nicely. And what a shot this is, getting the cue ball perfectly lined up for the brown in towards the yellow pocket there. So that for the break of 60 points. He tries to get himself on for the red into the right corner. Once again, look at the traction of the cue ball. And just the way that Trump manages to navigate the white in a way that he needs it to. And perfect shot once again there for the red. So similarly to frame number 3 there, not going to have enough points for a century break. But he's going to have enough points to at least try and replicate the break of 68 points previously. He's up to 67 already, with 27 still being on the table. And tries to roll the yellow, but just like it was in frame number 3, he's going to miss the yellow there. So this time he's going to be 67 points of a break. But ultimately it is Judd Trump 3, Anthony Mcgill 1. And with the world number 1 having 3 frames on the bounce here in Belfast, it is looking like a mission impossible there for Mcgill to try and climb back there up against Trump. And he has to start doing that in the next frame. But for now, Trump will head off for the bathroom break himself. And we can have a look at how the other matches are doing. Yeah, as I say, Jackson Page is currently on the break up against Stephen Hallworth, who hasn't managed to answer to him so far. David Gilbert has lost out another frame there to Cheryl Kyon. And he's currently trading by 2 frames to 1 there. So once again, with the first match to have 4 frames finished there. 3 of those have gone the way of the world number 1. And it does seem more and more likely that we are going to have a clash of Judd Trump up against Jackson Page there in the second round. With Page having all sorts of reds available up ahead of him. And 107 points still on the table there. We may see the last frame here as well on table number 2. With Anthony Mcgill. Maybe it's the last time we're going to see him feature in the Northern Ireland Open campaign for the last frame. Was being a little bit unlucky with the draw, if you might call it. Facing probably still probably one of the best players on the tour. You could argue not the most informed player, but especially with some of the high seeds like Mark Williams, Neil Robertson and Ronnie O'Sullivan being withdrawn from this tournament. You're going to have pretty much the worst challenge you could actually hope there in the first round, because you could try and challenge the likes of Murphy and Selby if you're playing well, but it's going to be really difficult there for you to try and do that up against Karen Wilson or Judd Trump, the world number 2 or the world number 1 there. Karen Wilson yet to be off into the round 2 himself. As I say, he has to be facing a player that has managed to knock out Judd Trump previously at this year's calendar year. Managed to do that in the first round there. Trump was actually featuring himself at the Saudi Arabian Masters. And right now we just wait for Judd to return to the table from his bottom break and get the 5th frame underway there to maybe try and actually finish this off quite quickly there. Don't think he'll mind trying to do that. In frame number 5, get himself a 4-1 win. I think that's going to be more than comfortable for his way of playing there, but still a little bit of a delay. And meanwhile, Jackson Page managed to get himself up to a count of 43 points and counting, still being on the break, up against Stephen Hallford, who does seem like he's going to have his work cut out, as Chomp is finally back there for the break-off shot in frame number 5. This time does it from the right-hand side of the table once again there, following Mcgill's example. So a little bit of a mix-up there from Chomp, who's done that in the 3rd frame from the left-hand side. So just showing that he can try and do it on both sides and still get himself off to a perfect outcome. Because Mcgill is going to have the cue ball lined up on the cushion and probably has to go for this do-or-die shot of the red into the left corner. Is ultimately going to miss this one and give away a mid-range shot there to Chomp into the left corner himself. I think Chomp can see enough of the red to try and go for it. The angle on the cue ball is going to be nice there to Judd to try and get it into the right hand side of the table and line up for the black. But it's actually going to be waiting there for him, very close to the right corner pocket. Pushed by Mcgill on the previous shot, but Chomp is just having a look to see if there's going to be any chance of a plant there for him. I think he'll be very surprised if he doesn't take the red into the left corner. It's currently available there to him, but he certainly does seem to be looking for something there. And there is a plant there that is available, but I mean, it's basically a 3-ball plant. You can't really get to those reds cleanly anyway. And the cue ball is going to be compromised as well. So I'll say, especially if you're the world number 1 and you're playing well, I'll say you just go for the simple shot there and try and go for the direct red. But Chomp certainly seems to have another opinion there. I mean, look to see what is available there into the left corner. So, as the decision seems to be made there by Chomp, he's probably going to go for this plan there because he's been studying it for that long and he's going to study for one more time. So, probably just having a look to see what the cue ball behavior is going to be, as it's going to cannon itself into another red there. I mean, you have to play this one with so much power that, I mean, you're going to have, basically, this frame is probably going to be lost or won by this shot, is the approach by Chomp. Because the reds are going to be spread out there. The cue ball has to land on the colour. And ultimately, after all that consideration, Chomp has actually gone for the red into the left corner. That I was suggesting all day long there for him. He's going to miss that one though. And he's going to leave away a chance to Anthony Mcgill of some sort. If it's going to be a shot into the right corner or the green pocket there. Still remains to be seen. But Chomp has to go back to his chair at least for one more shot there. And Mcgill does seem to be a bit hesitant at this stage now. So clearly the red is not going to get past the green into the green pocket there. So all about if he can see enough of those reds to try and send those into the right corner. And I think the answer is probably not there. So has to go for a red along the cushion to try and roll this one into the right corner. Not an easy one, especially doing off the black ball cushion. So goes down on the shot and has to go back up there as well. Clearly understanding there, Mcgill, that every shot can be his last in the entire tournament. But this time, certainly not going to be his last there, as he makes the red really nicely in towards the right corner. And will have the choice of a black to try and go into the same corner pocket there for his name. And as I say, Chomp refusing the plant that he was sort of looking for so long previously does mean that the position still remains pretty bunched up there, apart from 3-4 reds that have gone away from the main pack. But Mcgill for now has to face semi-difficult black still in terms of trying to get it into the right corner pocket. It's not going to be such an issue there for him. But lining the cue ball and controlling the cue ball to be in the perfect position for the next red is actually going to be a bit more of an issue there for himself. If there's a player with cue power, it's Trumpler. Well, I mean, it is. But didn't actually need that power on the previous shot. And Mcgill, I mean, if you're going to run yourself out of position on the red, it's fine. But surely you can't miss a black like that into the right corner pocket. It wasn't even on the cushion. The cue ball was pretty much in the perfect position there, but he's missed that one by so much margin there as well, Mcgill. And this could be the last shot that he actually plays in the entire match now, because Trump is off to a good start there, compromised probably slightly by the fact that the black has gone onto its own cushion, so not going to be in the available play, at least at this stage of the frame. And Trump will have to navigate the way of the cue ball through the blue for now. He's in the ball colours as the backup option. And the backup option is going to come into play very shortly now, as he gets himself lined up for the yellow into its own pocket. And just trying to generate some power right now on the white and get himself pretty straight on this red, I think, because he's going to try and generate the angle on the blue to go down for the split of the main bunch there, which is exactly the sign that he's probably trying to show us there with the cue. So obviously just checking what is going to be the perfect angle there for him, but I think he's bailed out of it last second, because the angle that he's actually landed himself with is not going to be anywhere near good enough for him to try and accelerate the cue ball enough and generate the pace that is going to do all the damage to the bunch and split it up there. So probably just pot the blue and try and get one of those two reds still available onto the lower part of the table. And I mean, he can try and go for the approach of a two cushion shot into the bunch, but this is going to be risky, and he has gone for that. So I think it was a last second change there from Trump on the approach. But it does seem to have worked out for him in a decent way. He's got a red lined up into the left middle. And with the way he's been playing, he should make this shot there. But as I say, the position has gone into the way that, you know, any chance given away to Mcgill could be converted nicely. And it is going to be at least one more chance given to Mcgill. So, you know, Trump could have gone for a more safe manner of a shot. He decided not to do that, obviously trusting himself to make one of those shots into the left middle. Ultimately, it is going to be a chance to Anthony Mcgill, and it's a task there for him straight away of getting the cue ball lined up for the blue. And that is going to be the case here. So, although he does land the cue ball on the wrong side of the blue here, so that's not going to be ideal there for him. But he may have enough angle to get the cue ball to travel just enough way onto the top part of the table to get it down there for the main bunch of reds. As he has to look to see if that plan is going to be worth sort of making your mind up on. I mean, he's always got the backup option of just stunning the cue ball and coming into a rest shot. And that's exactly what he's done there. So it's a mid-range shot there coming up for Anthony Mcgill, but don't think he's managed to navigate his way through too nicely. I think I would have expected to see this red a little bit straighter there than he actually is going to be, for the simple reason of, you know, the pot is not as easy as he might look, and also you still have to land yourself on the collar. And I mean, yeah, he made the pot really nicely there, Mcgill, but ultimately he's not going to be perfect on this blue. Into the left middle once again there on the wrong side of the blue. And he's going to get himself into a little bit of trouble in terms of trying to accelerate the cue ball through the main pack here. He's got some of those remote reds to try and chase up here. This is going to be a really difficult shot there. And of course, it's not beyond the realms of possibility for him to actually miss this shot there. And lovely shot there, though. I mean, he could have missed the blue, but he didn't. And the fact that he made that shot stick there for his name is going to lead to the fact that he probably becomes a massive favourite to win this frame. You know, the black being out of the equation is probably the only major problem that he has to deal with. And for now, he's been able to navigate the way of the cue ball through the blue. It's only been 1 point behind now of Judd Trump. Still 91 points on the table. There's a minor screw back on the cue ball to get himself lined up for a shot into the left corner. As he's now 4 points clear. Just having a look to see if the black is going to be dead on the cushion. May actually consider, if that is the case, may actually consider trying to get the cue ball down the table and play for the black now. Because that's going to make his life a lot easier from that point of view. If he gets the black on his spot there, he can play majority of those reds in and around the black there, accumulate more points, and therefore needing less of those reds that are actually going to be there for him. But the thing about those short matches is they're never won there until you're actually over the line, even if you are the world number one. Because if Mcgill manages to win this frame, he's only a frame behind there of Trump. And you know, 2 on the bounce, you force a decider, and you're going to come into decider probably with a 50-50 game. You know, you're going to have Trump as the favourite on paper in terms of him being the higher seed. But you're going to have Mcgill coming into that decider potentially with 2 frames on the bounce. For now, he has to focus on claiming the first one. You know, he's got 6 reds there on the table, still playing all of them with the blue, so probably will need majority of those reds, if not all 6 of them, if he's actually to get over the line, barring Snookers there for Trump. So for now, has been absolutely perfect with his cue ball control. And he's going to get himself into the red off the right corner. So has to make this one stick there. Once again, just being on the top part of the blue once again there. But, I mean, I say yet again, it's probably overrun slightly for the blue. And he's going to go for one of the bold colours at this stage. I think it's going to be the yellow there for him. So accelerate the cue ball and put some power through it. And yeah, underrun slightly there, once again there for him. For a red in towards the right corner. So 19 points clear, still 67 on the table. So probably he's going to need all of those reds barring at least one of them. Because surely the remaining 4 will get him over the line of 35 points of a gap. But that ain't going to be the case just yet there for him. Because he's going to miss a red into the right corner and ultimately pressure on Mcgill to not miss. I mean, if that pressure was there, certainly ain't going to be there right now because he has missed a shot into the right corner. And, you know, it was a difficult shot with the rest there, but he only has himself to blame for running out of position on the previous shot. And getting a chance now for Judd Trump to get a foot in the safety battle. Not going to be an easy chance there, though, for the world number one just yet. And that points difference of 19 to Mcgill's advantage is not going to be too significant just yet. As I say, still 67 points on the table. 2 of those reds are actually compromised right now after the previous shot from Trump. The black is still going to be on the black ball cushion there as well, but I think neither of the players should need the black really to the full extent because you're not going to require total clearance from Trump or Mcgill to get themselves the 5th frame on the board. Are all reds in open, so that's what I'm saying. You've got one of them on the black ball cushion, which is going to be possible if it's dead on the cushion, and it's going to be a lot more difficult there for you to try and pot. And you've got the, if it's not dead on the cushion there, and you've got one more red compromised by the pink, but you could try and easily cannon that one if you get a nice little shot off the blue. And I'll be honest with you, that is one of the most bizarre shots I've ever seen from a professional, because the power that Mcgill has played this shot has indicated that he's tried to pot this one, but he caught that the wrong side. So he was trying to get the red to move a bit more to the right corner, obviously, but he's actually gone to the left there. So haven't got a clue what Mcgill was playing there, but ultimately he's going to give away a chance now to Chomp. That seems to be wasted straight away there, even though he has got the red into the right corner. The cue ball is not going to be anywhere near the position that he should have been for Chomp to try and get this pink into the right middle. He's still trying to go for it, but it just makes it so much difficult there for him. And he's going to make this one stick though. So Chomp once again there in prime position for making this much done and dusted there for himself. The red that was compromised by the pink previously, of course, is not going to be compromised right now with the pink returning back to his spot there. So it's all about trying to eliminate that red on the cushion. And Chomp has to get the cue ball up the table first. Get himself lined up for the shot at the pink. Yeah, so apart from that red on the black ball cushion, everything seems to be very straightforward for Chomp to get this frame and match over and done in his favour. Ultimately just having a look to see if... well, I mean, he will need that red inevitably. He's not going to have enough points to his advantage of those two reds, especially if he replaces those with pink. Currently finds himself 4 points behind there of Anthony Mcgill. Going to make that 2 ahead there for himself as he gets the pink into the left corner. So all about trying to get himself a nice little angle on this pink. And of course sacrificing the angle on the previous red, but I don't think he's landed perfectly on the pink. I think he's pretty straight there, and if the angle is there for him, it's going to be a minor. So therefore, I mean, the angle is there, but I mean, with the way he's trying to sort of signal there to himself that he's going to have this shot pretty straight there. I mean, he has to power the pink in. Obviously has to judge the pace of the cue ball perfectly. And, well, in the end, he didn't have to power the pink in, to be fair. So, probably had enough of the angle there for himself. But ultimately, it all comes down to this shot now because, you know, he's pretty straight on this red. I think that was the intention. So, roll this one in and get yourself lined up for the black into the left corner. I mean, this is difficult. If he's gone for the pink into the left middle, it's exactly the one that he's missed earlier in the frame, and that is going to be the case there. So I don't think he wants to touch the black just yet, and he's going to get the pink in, so it's not going to repeat of the previous encounter in this frame. And you know, barring these 3 ball colors, it is going to be Judd Chomp in the second round there with a pretty comfortable win of Anthony Mcgill. You know, it's still not up to his best, but you wouldn't expect to see that in a best of 7 match, especially in the first round. GG's match, well, certainly if he gets the green and the brown in, he's now 18 points clear. The green will make him 21 points clear, and the brown will surely get him over the line. So impressive to take the frame from the position they actually found himself in. But never say never, and never celebrate before crossing the finish line. He has missed the green. I didn't say GG's there. I did say if he gets the green and the brown in, it was a straightforward shot from the rest there. But he didn't manage to take it, and all of a sudden, this is turning into a chance now for Anthony Mcgill to produce a clearance. You know, he can get through to this green, so all about trying to get the cue action on the cue ball. And the line seems to be good there for him. But I think he's just going to be alright here for the brown. It's probably going to come down to trying to pot the black there, which Mcgill's certainly going to need at this stage. So let's have a look there. So this brown is going to set up the pace for Mcgill to actually be lined up for the blue. So gets the brown in. So on a break of 7 points, now finds himself 11 points behind. So it's going to be exactly even points as he takes the blue in. So all about the next couple of shots here for Mcgill. It's going to be even on points should he pot this pink going into the last black there. And is he going to be alright for the black? Probably isn't. Probably isn't. And it's going to be a black ball game there with equal points, you would think, unless Mcgill decides to go for it. I mean, he's smiling about it. It's probably a sign that he's actually going to try and get this one in along the rail there. I mean, this is do or die shot if ever I've seen one. It is dead on the cushion though, so that's going to be an advantage. But surely there is way too much of a gap in between the cue ball and the black. Yeah, big shot. I mean, it is. And the black is not too close to the corner pocket anyway. I think it's a bit of a desperation shot there from Mcgill. I'll be honest. Of course, I won't say that if he makes this one. And in the end, he doesn't go for it. Probably the right decision. You know, you're still alive. And it's a short formatted match. Which means you're always going to be in there with a shout. Especially if you won at least one of those frames previously. So it is going to be a black ball game. And well, the advantage straight away there goes to Chom. Because he's got the first real shot of this black. And I think he has to fight his demons. Try not to go for the double into the right middle, or trying to go for the double. Depends which way you look at it. Yeah, I don't think you'll be too happy with the way he's played his shot though, because this black is going to be available there for Mcgill to try and take into the left corner. Overdone it on the pink, Mcgill. Well, overscrewed. Yeah, I probably agree with you. Probably agree with you on that one. The angle was there, and I think he applied too much of the backspin, but he's got another chance now to get this black into the left corner. Not this time though. It's a chance missed, but the black is going to go just about as safe as he could have done. So, you know, if those chances just accumulate there for Mcgill, he's going to take at least one of them, and he's still smiling. So, I mean, I don't think Trump is going to be sharing that smile, because I haven't seen him smile probably since he last won a tournament, which has been a while. Hasn't smiled once there in this match. Probably hasn't got too many reasons to smile about here. It's business as usual there for him. I mean, Chomp there, playing a cushion first shot. I think it's going to turn into a disaster there for him. Because he's going to leave these black available now for Mcgill. Very surprised with that short selection there for him. Chomps wants this game. He's not Williams, that's for sure. Yeah, I know. Williams would have gone for the double, but it may all prove to be for nothing there, because Mcgill has got a chance to take this black into the green pocket. Would be surprised if he doesn't. And he certainly is going to do that. So we are heading, not the distance, but at least one more frame there. Because it is going to be, I thought that Trump was showing some sort of gestures there to Mcgill. Don't think he was though. I think he was just scratching his head. Ultimately, we are going to go into frame number 6. And it is Judd Chomp 3, Anthony Mcgill 2 there. I was talking about smiling. Well, he's certainly, yeah. Yeah, he's talking about smiling. Williams is always going to see the funny side of it. Chomp isn't though, and probably could see what was about to happen. You know, Mcgill had an early chance of taking that black along the cushion. He decided not to do that. After that, he still had a chance of taking the red into the right corner. He missed that one, but ultimately the next shot from Chomp has left the black available into the green pocket. And therefore, the chance was taken there by Anthony Mcgill. And he's now still alive, just about, but he's still alive in this first round match. And Stephen Hallford isn't though, as Jackson Page is going to progress to the round 2 there. So waiting the winner of this match, joining the likes of Ben Wollaston, Mark Selby, Pang Jing-Soo, Jordan Brown, Wu Yize, Ashley Hugel, Chris Wakelin, and Tom Ford getting his win with a walkover over Marco Fu there previously. So Chomp has to pick himself back up here and hopefully, finally, have a flawless break. There, he's going to get him one more frame that he's going to be seeking here. Chomp needs to improve fast. He does, but I think he needs to win fast because, you know, unless he gets himself a flawless break, you can just see Mcgill getting one more chance there. And as I say, if he gets to a decider, it's going to be anyone's game for the taking, especially with the way this match has gone. So just having a look to see what is going to be available there for Trump. And the first chance that he actually presents himself with, has to take it, and Mcgill still hasn't returned from his bathroom break, so waiting for that to happen. And meanwhile, Davy Gilbert finding himself on the receiving end of things of Judd once again there, with 5 frames being finished on table number 3 as well. So it's currently 3-2 not in Gilbert's favour, and he's not currently the player that is at the table either, so it's not looking too good there for him. Trump is making just enough mistakes for Mcgill to capitalise and keep himself in the match, absolutely. And ultimately, you have to give a little bit of credit to Mcgill there as well. Didn't have too many of those chances, but when he did have those, he managed to make his opponent pay for them. And therefore, right now, it's still Trump as the favourite, but, you know, Mcgill is not out of the equation just yet. As Gilbert puts himself back at the table there, and puts a wonderful red. So maybe one more match that we're actually going to see a decider at. I think the only match that I remember watching as a decider was Wu Yi's against Scott Donaldson there. And as I just have a look through the scoreboard, that is the case there. So the only decider that we've seen up to this point in the last 64, or the first round, whatever you want to call it. Mcgill surely is going to return from the bathroom break shortly, and he is going to try and do that now. So walks up to the table straight away there for a break of shots. And he's going to get the frame number 6 underway. Of course, frame number 4 was lost there to Trump, and frame number 2 was lost to Trump as well there. So every single time Mcgill has broken off previously, he's lost out that particular frame in this encounter. So let's see if that's going to be the case one more time. And Judd Trump, I think certainly will be hoping for that to be the case. As I think you can go back to the plans previously in the previous frame, you know, where Trump was looking at that plan for so much time there. Ultimately, it was, I think, in my point of view, way too quick to switch to that red into the left corner, and therefore left a chance there for Mcgill, but ultimately get himself into a 50-50 of the frame, and found himself on the receiving end of things there. You covering the whole tournament? Nah, I'm just doing the first round. And as Mcgill drops a wonderful red into the right corner, of course I'm joking about it, and absolutely. I don't think I'll be doing any more of the last 64 matches though. It's a wonder shot from Mcgill. I think we'll be doing 1 shot per stage there, so we'll be back with the last 32. As I say, Trump's match, if he does make it through Mcgill, which doesn't seem to be too likely right now, is going to be one of those chances. I think you could see Ali Carter up against Stuart Bingham is going to be another one for me to try and think about. And yeah, I think those two are going to be the main things for me to consider. So it's either going to be Ali Carter and Stuart Bingham, or it's going to be Jackson Page and Judd Trump, because I don't think I'll be doing Jackson Page and Anthony Mcgill there. But it's still the Scotsman that is very much in this frame. So probably finds himself as a minor favourite here. Gets 2 reds in, both of them into the right corner. And the first one, of course, was one of the thinnest of the cuts that you can actually see there. That'd be a good one, Carter Bingham. This is what I'm saying, like, for the short format, you're never gonna see a blockbuster of a, you know, that is gonna be the level of a World Championship final. As I think Mcgill just found himself making a massive mistake there and running himself out of position. Yes, he has. So just gonna put the cue ball, try and get it in behind the yellow. It's a decent attempt there for him, and he's gonna certainly push Trump to play a cushion first shot there. So yeah, I'll be thinking about it, because in terms of the names there, I think Carter Bingham is going to be just short of Trump against Page. But, you know, as I say, we'll still have to see both of them progress to the round 2 spots. And, you know, Judd has to do the same sort of thing here. Still being the favourite. But, you know, I think he's going to be lesser of a favourite than he was when he was leading by 3 frames to 1. Hard choice. Now, well, as I say, I think, I'll be honest with you, and I'll say it right now, if Chomp does make it through, it probably will be Chomp. But I have to wait to see what I actually see of Bingham and Carter, the way they're going to be playing. And Mcgill right now, with another beautiful safety shot, getting that red very close to the left corner pocket, but ultimately getting the brown in the way of the cue ball. And getting 4 points on his way, you would think, because that's not going to make this red there from Chomp. So 4 points from Mcgill. And probably attempt number 2 coming up. And yeah, the reason for the silence there, I missed the first part because I've seen Mcgill walking out on the table absolutely laughing his head off, and then the second I switched the volume on, I see the referee saying, yeah, sorry Anthony, I have no idea where that came away from. So certainly probably not calling a miss at that time. Not calling a foul shot, something like that. Ultimately, I don't know why it's given away 4 points to Chomp there. It certainly is going to be 4 points to Anthony Mcgill. And attempt number 2 from Chomp. And one thing I will say, though, is even though it was a funny exchange between the two players, it's still between the player and the referee, I still haven't seen Chomp smile. So he's taking this proper seriously there. Making the red on the second attempt of asking. Trying to get the cue ball as far away from danger as possible there from Mcgill's point of view. And we'll just have a look to see if you can try and pot this red into the right corner there for Chomp, but I think the angle's going to be against him anyway. So that's going to be a thought of a single second. And then you're going to switch to thinking about which safety shot to play. And obviously trying to go for an aggressive one. Pushing reds pretty much symmetrically towards the left and right corner of the table. Ultimately, I don't think Chomp has given away any of those. And Mcgill is going to try and see if, you know, you can try and pot at least one of them. Or potentially the backup option being playing a safety shot that is going to prove to be good enough there for him. So I think he's going to try and take the right one out of the game. Try and pot this one. I've seen Stan Moody and Ross Muir there going for a similar shot approach yesterday, but in the end Mcgill's going to try and invent something very creative here, at least by his standards. And ultimately, as long as he hasn't given away a touching ball, he's played the shot perfectly. And basically, even though you could see pretty much 5 if not more of those reds, he decided to play a cushion first shot and try and get the cue ball with as little pace as possible there once it reaches the red. And ultimately, it hasn't given away a touching ball chance to Chomp, so hasn't lost out in that regard. But one thing I'll mention though, ever since the opening frame, we had a safety battle in every single one of those frames. And majority of the times it was Chomp coming out on top there. We've seen the safety success percentage being at 100% previously. I think it was at frame number 3. And I don't think it's going to be at 100% just yet though. Because I think we've seen a couple of mistakes there from Chomp in the previous couple. So he just has a look to see if he's going to have that red available there for him to try and take into the left corner. And if the answer is no there, he can try and send the cue ball down the table and sort of put it on the black ball cushion exactly to not give away any sort of momentum there to Mcgill. Instead, he decides to probably take the black out of the game. I'm not sure if that was intentional because I think it's going to damage both of the players here. And so ultimately give away one more chance here to Mcgill into the left corner. So it's something in between the mid-range shot and long shot now for Mcgill. But it certainly is a missed shot there. And is he going to get the cue ball into the safe area? He's not going to do that. And he's giving away dumb shot, not good sign. It was, but as I said, I don't think it was intentional, and I think he was just a bit struggling to find the right trajectory of the line, of the shot, sorry, to get him in a safe position. But ultimately, it's the Chomp that gets the better of this safety battle, as Mcgill didn't manage to take the chance that was presented to him there. Chomp certainly did, as he gets himself nicely on the yellow into the green pocket. So play through the shot here and get himself lined up on the reds into the lower part of the table, but he misses the yellow. And this is certainly a bad shot there from Chomp. Here we go. Here we end there. Because here we go. Here we stop now if you're Chomp. The body language, once again, just showing how frustrated he is. And, yeah, he's given away a nice little promising position to Mcgill. The pink is available. The blue is available. All the ball colours are pretty much on their positions as well. And all of that is going to be in the possession of Anthony Mcgill right now, as he gets himself already 16 points clear, and being the person on the break here as well. So it does seem to be unraveling a little bit for Judd. And I did say at the stage when he was 3-1 up there, if he is to lose frame number 5, that will put him on the back foot for frame number 6 therefore. And if Mcgill manages to take both of them, it probably comes into the decider as a slight favourite there, for the simple reason of momentum and form there being at his advantage. But of course he still has to get there, although the fact that he's 27 points clear, still having 2-3 reds there available to him. The black is not available, so therefore he compromises his chances of Chomp making the most out of the points going to be on the table. So it's not looking too good there for Chomp to actually win this frame, at least with the way it is currently panned out. So Mcgill just having a look to see if he takes the pink into the left middle, which I think is under on the cue ball slightly. Is he going to have a shot into the left corner there for him? And if the answer is yes, he has to make sure he applies a lot of power on the cue ball and gets himself with a stun shot basically. Nicely played. And I think he's going to have just enough angle on this red to try and get it onto the black ball cushion. May actually be just too straight for him to just screw back for the blue there. I think it's maybe an easier shot selection there for him. But he overscrewed that one by so much margin. I mean, he's landed over the bulk line, where I think, if you look at his face expression, he clearly was playing for the blue there. But yeah, you can just see he doesn't know how that happened. And Chomp is raveling a little. Yeah, just as I say. You know, Mcgill is not over with this frame, of course. And, I mean, with missing that shot by such a margin, in pretty much half the table he missed it by, all of a sudden he has to make this cannon onto the reds from the yellow. And with a rest shot as well. And I've got no idea where he's going to generate all the power from. Just having a look to see how much sort of not focused can he actually be here on this pot. And giving the rest away there to the referee. So clearly thinking about playing a safety shot. Trying to get the cue ball in behind maybe the green or the brown. I mean, the perfect scenario is going to be to try and get the cue ball in behind the yellow, but doesn't want to drop it, of course. And ain't going to be the case there for Mcgill. So a shot nicely played. And the break is going to end on 20 points scored there for Mcgill. So making the most out of the easy reds that were available there. And in the end managed to recover pretty well there with getting the cue ball in behind the yellow. So Chomp manages to catch the red on the left side cushion, but he's actually lucky that the red has not cannoned into the green with the way that he's actually going to end possible there for Mcgill into the left middle. So therefore, Anthony just going to develop some more of those reds. Of course, he's not going to be interested in trying to do that. And yeah, he also wasn't interested in catching the green full ball there. And potentially leaving a chance away for Chomp to try and play a red along the cushion there for himself. So Chomp was going to take this chance to try and develop the black there. And very lucky to miss the blue there. because had the cue ball cannon into the blue, it would have given a red away into the left corner. So once again there, I've got no idea what happened to that 100% safety success of a play. But it's certainly not going to be that number right now there for Judd Trump. And, well, I mean, I say that. Probably going to count as a successful safety shot, but it was way too marginal for him to be playing that sort of shot there with the way he has. And right now, Mcgill has to respond with sending the cue ball in towards the green pocket, which is currently covered up by the yellow. And has he managed to cover up the red that I was talking about previously? You know, the Mcgill couldn't see it on the previous shot. Can Trump see it now there for him? He does seem to be aiming towards that part of the table. And I think he can just about get through to play a safety shot from this red. I don't think he was ever trying to play an attacking shot from it, simply for the reason of not seeing enough of that red. And back to Mcgill it goes. So a bit of a change of turns here from both of the players. And, you know, for the 6 frames, we've gone over 2 hour mark now. It has been a little bit lengthy there, so 20 minutes on the well, not 20 minutes on the frame. Yeah, 20 minutes on the frame on average there. You know, barring the breaks in between the frames. If this frame was to end now, but of course it ain't gonna end right now, unless we're gonna have the 3 miss rule, very much by one of the players. Seen that a couple of times already. Come to the 3 misses rules, but every single time players manage to get themselves out of that situation. And, well, Trump once again using the entire length of the table. And very close there to catching the jaws of the pocket. But ultimately still going to give away a red to Anthony Mcgill into the left corner. So Mcgill just having a look to see if that red is going to be possible there for him. And once he realises that he will be, it's going to be all about trying to get that cue ball, well, into some sort of a zone of free space there, because you're always going to have the yellow covering up the green pocket after that miss from Trump previously. The black is out of the game. The pink is going to be really difficult for you to try and get to. And therefore, it's going to be pretty much blue or nothing there. But first you have to make the red in. And you're not going to make the red in if you're playing the way you have. And Anthony Mcgill, it's a waste of a chance there for him, because the same red is going to be playable there by Trump into the right middle. So roll this one in and get yourself lined up for the yellow that I mentioned previously. Get that one restored, and all of a sudden, I mean, it's not like there's any reds that are going to be a problem there for Trump. So as soon as he gets the cue ball into the lower part of the table and he's under control there, could turn to be a very straightforward clearance for Judd Trump. Sloppy. I mean, it was sloppy there by Trump previously, but in the end, he actually got him a chance there. So, of course, that's the advantage of, I don't know why on earth Mcgill's points were counting. Of course, Judd Trump now at the table and being on the break. So, as he gets the cue ball down the table here, so it's all about trying to get himself on the black here. So, the first red is in, though. It was very important for him to do that, because as he lands himself on the top side of the green, he can try and transition the cue ball onto the lower part of the table and basically get himself onto the straightforward clearance that I was talking about previously. The black is still very much close to the right corner pocket there, but ultimately just about far enough there for Trump to squeeze a couple of reds in between the jaws of the pocket and the black itself. So right now we've got 6 reds on the table. I think Judd Trump is about to make that 5. And as he does do that, gets himself lined up for the black into the right corner. Doesn't want to be straight on this though, because obviously you can't topspin because you're going to have the cue ball into the pocket, and you can't backspin because you're going to have the cue ball onto the main pack of reds there. But ultimately there was a little bit of the angle, so you can actually apply the top spin and get himself lined up for the position that I was talking about previously. Surely is going to be the straightforward clearance there, and it is the position that Judd Trump has been such a fan of throughout the majority of his career, especially during the last 3-4 seasons or so. So 4 reds and 4 blacks potentially after this one will disappear. And I don't think he's going to need all of them, as he's only finding himself 12 points behind Mcgill. So maybe actually just about all of them, and some of the cheap colours as well. And remember, he was on for a straightforward match ball there, and he missed a shot prior to that on the green. And well, I mean, once again there by Chomp, it's a bit sloppy because he makes the change to the reds that he didn't have to, with all 4 of them being playable. But with the cannon that he's made with the cue ball into the reds, all of a sudden not all of them are playable into the right corner pocket. So therefore, has to either be perfect in terms of them, or trying to get himself lined up for a good shot there. So he tried to cannon the cue ball into the reds, missed all of them. So it's all about if he's got a little plant there in the making. I mean, he has, but yeah, I think it's alright, to be fair. I was going to say it looks to be a bit off there, but I think it's alright. And I think if he applies marginal sort of changes there to it, he's going to be absolutely fine there, and he is going to be fine. So it's a mistake covered up there by Chomp, obviously realising that the plant was going to be there waiting for him. And only 2 reds there after this black. So a deep screw back on the shot. And lovely little position this time around. So 4 points clear now of Anthony Mcgill. 39 points on the break. And rolls the red in towards the left corner. Once again now, penultimate time probably that he'll have to play this black. Certainly until he is announced as the match winner here. So 5 points clear. So you'll need the red and probably the ball colours once again there. Just like it was in frame number 5 there. That ultimately has gone the way of Anthony Mcgill. Right now it is 12 points of advantage there to Judd Trump. It's a chance. It's certainly more than a chance. It's a very, very low probability that it's going to happen back-to-back times there for him. But never say never, of course, in snooker. And Trump manages to get the last red in towards the left middle. So 13 points clear. The black is going to make that 20 points clear. So this time it's going to be the green for the match ball. The black was marginal though. I mean, he barely got that one into the pocket. But in the end, it ain't going to matter there too much for Judd Trump, because it's 6 colour clearance, very much on the line, and 55 points. So it does look like we're going to have the highest break achieved in the match, very much in the last frame. And it's all about getting this green in this time around, as it's match ball for Judd Trump there. And it is going to be the case, because 25 points ahead, 22 on the table. It is going to be snookers needed for Anthony Mcgill, but of course Judd Trump ain't going to stop there. And he is going to produce a total clearance, you would think, of 82 points as he gets the brown in. So surely game over for Anthony Mcgill. Managed to put up a good fight there. Entertain the fans, probably entertain Judd Trump fans way too much there. But ultimately, it is going to be short there for Anthony Mcgill, as it is going to be the break of 75 points and counting. So just the last black for Judd Trump to make it 82 points clearance. And that will be the case. And Judd Trump is through to the second round there, where you'll face Jackson Page there, after he managed to whitewash Stephen Hawthorne there. And, well, it has been a reaction that was much needed there by Judd Trump, but ultimately it is the world number 1 that is going to progress to the round 2. And he's up and running here, and he's already better than what he's managed to do in the Saudi Arabian Masters. Anthony Mcgill managed to put up a decent fight, but in the end, it was the world number 1 that he was actually up against. So always probably asking a bit too much there for him to take the game to decide them. So Judd Trump is through there into the last 32. Let's see if he can make it past Jackson Page there, make it into the last 16. By the way, David Gilbert has lost out to Jorokion. So John Higgins, Jack Lizowski are going to be in action shortly. And until then, we're going to see you in the second stage. If it is going to be Stuart Bingham, O'Reilly Carter or Jackson Page up against Judd Trump, you will know very, very shortly there. But up until then, speak to you soon there. Wonderful to listen to. Lovely message there as well. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the second round.